Train the muscles, not the joints.
Mountain. So welcome back to Natural Gallant Bodybuilding, and today I thought I'd talk to you a little bit about what does it take to maintain an elite level physique, because it's easy to go to the gym and kind of train a little bit, but a lot of times people underestimate, especially beginners or people that are intermediate, sometimes they underestimate the amount of work it takes to maintain an elite level physique. You know, that's why you don't see a lot of guys that are competing at the highest level working 60 or 70 hours a week doing some sort of construction job. Although there are always exceptions, because I know there are a few warriors out there that somehow manage to do this, but when it comes down to maintaining an elite level physique, one thing's for sure, it does take a pretty strict regimen of training. You have to train right, you have to eat right, you have to sleep right, and you have to do this continually. You cannot just take 2, 3, 4 weeks off and then your physique's going to look the same after that period of time off. Now, some people have a different threshold than others. Some people can take 3 or 4 months off and they're pretty good. They just flatten out a little bit, and as soon as they get back in the gym, their gains come back. And that is true for all naturals. Your gains come back pretty quickly. But during that time that you're taking off, you definitely notice that there is a different level of pumpitude in the muscles and in the physique itself, right? So the reason why I'm talking about this is sometimes people make the mistake of saying, okay, you're not in contest shape right now, so you don't know what you're talking about. Meanwhile, all contest shape is just dieting to be in shape and consistent training and perhaps cardio for some to make sure that you're sitting at a lower body fat percentage. But it doesn't mean that you have less knowledge just because you may go through periods of time where you take more time off or you're not training as hard because you're putting your time and effort into other things. Now, after you do this whole training thing for 20 or 30 years, you may love it more than ever. But at the same time, there are going to be times in your life where you want to put effort into other hobbies or interests or maybe work or projects that you just have to get done. And there's nothing wrong with that. You will get your gains back fast when you come back to training. But I just find a lot of people don't understand that in order to keep your elite level physique, you have to be training a lot. Like, so say it took you 6 days a week to get that physique, it's going to take you pretty close to that to maintain it. You can't just, you know, all of a sudden just coast on fumes and just train 2 days a week and just have this ultimately shredded, pumped, strong physique all the time. That's why it's kind of like a hamster on a wheel. It just never ends, right? So it is good to take time off sometimes for this reason, because you can burn out. You can lose a bit of your passion for training if you're just always on this hamster wheel and never really throwing in some new energy into what it is you're doing. So I try to do this with my videos. I try to basically give you new ways to look at your training or new ways to enjoy it, so that way you continue to have motivation and at the same time you're not getting burned out. Now for me, sometimes I will work with more sets and more consistently in the gym and try to push and create results. But then sometimes I'm working more in the other stuff I work with. I'm doing more video, or I'm doing more music, or I'm doing more creative endeavors of some sort, and I'm not necessarily putting in the hour after hour in the gym. So for me to maintain my physique, it takes at least an hour to an hour and a half a day in the gym, 5 to 6 days a week. If I'm not doing that, then I will not look at my elite level, right? And the advantage that the old school bodybuilders had and the old school naturals had when they were writing for magazines, they didn't have to show their physique when they weren't in shape. They showed their physique only when they were in shape, and they get ready for a contest and they do a bunch of photo shoots, and those photos would show up throughout the entire year, and sometimes longer for some, sometimes for a decade. But they didn't have to maintain perfect conditioning during the time that those pictures were going out. But now in the social media age, you're basically showing what you look like on a day-to-day basis, and sometimes you'll go through little ups and downs where maybe you're not watching your diet as much, maybe you're having a little bit of pizza and some ice cream, so you're not as lean as you were before. And there is some people that argue, and I can argue, that sometimes not being in a deficit is not a bad idea. Sometimes it's okay to be at a little bit of a higher body fat percentage, not super fat, but just have a couple extra percent as a buffer zone. There's nothing wrong with that when you're trying to build muscle. But a lot of times on social media, people are glorifying the contest shape condition, and that's the only thing that they think exists, and that's the marker whether somebody's a good bodybuilder or not. So recently in the live chat that I do on Fridays at 4 p.m, somebody talked about taking time off. Is there a benefit to taking a long period of time off and then coming back in the gym? And I would say yes, because there are certain tissues in the body that take a lot longer to recover. And sometimes when your system gets out of whack, you need to reset the hard drive, you know what I'm saying? So whether you're going to get acupuncture, massage therapy, or doing some sort of overall health treatment, it's a good idea to take some time off while you're doing that and then rejuvenate the body, let it heal up, and then come back to training with newfound enthusiasm and health, right? Because nothing sidetracks your program or your results faster than an injury or aches and pains, because we've all done it. We've all had to train through aches and pains at times, but it is obviously a better option to train with no aches and pains. That's obviously the best option, right? If you can do it. So yeah, for a natural, whatever it took for you to get that elite result is pretty much what it's going to take to maintain that elite result, or pretty close to it. You might not have to train quite as hard to maintain, because one could argue it takes more training and harder training to get to a certain point, but it's still going to be pretty close. I mean, if you're training 6 days a week to get a result, yeah, don't be surprised if you got to train 5 days a week to maintain that result. So yeah, I hope this helps you have some sort of understanding of what it takes to maintain the physique. And I'm only talking about training. I'm not even talking about the specifics of diet, because if you're not eating enough, obviously then the muscle will actually fall away as well, because you're starving the muscle. So yeah, your eating's got to be on point, your sleep's got to be on point, and your training's got to be on point in order to maintain the physique. So yeah, it's impossible to maintain contest shape all the time or elite shape all the time unless your 100% focus in your life is always just training and nothing else. And that's been my experience anyway. And sometimes it's fun to go through that period of time where you're just focused on training, but it's also good to be balanced and to investigate other hobbies or interests and still train and maintain, but maybe you're not maintaining your elite level, and then when you come back to it, you've got new enthusiasm. So thanks a lot for watching. If you need to get hold of me, just go to naturalgallantbodybuilding.com, and thanks to the patron supporters, and take care for now. Mountain.